Coming up in this episode of KMOS Presents Missouri Life, we're on the road to Benton County, Missouri, where we'll sweep up lessons on lace making, sing with some zangers, and learn a little about making gun stocks. KMOS Presents Missouri Life. Let's discover. Funding for KMOS Presents Missouri Life is provided by contributions to your PBS station from viewers like you. Thank you. Warsaw was incorporated in 1843 just along the Lake of the Ozarks, surrounded by the lake. In its early days, Warsaw was mostly home to the Osage tribe, but Delaware, Shawnee, and Kickapoo tribes were known to travel through as well. French trappers were known to make their way along the water there as early as 1719.
Hi, I am a trapper. My name is John. Get it?
In 1843, Samuel Whipple uncovered mastodon bones nearby. Then, just a few years later, Dr. R.W. Gibbs found more mastodon bones, which took up residence in Gibbs' drugstore for years afterwards.
Disappeared during the Pleistocene era during a mass extinction caused by a climate change, and reappeared at the 5-a-dime era in a drugstore.
Warsaw also holds two other noteworthy records in Missouri, the highest and the lowest temperature ever recorded in the state. On February 13, 1905, the mercury dropped all the way to a minus 40 degrees. And on July 14, 1954, the state record for sweltering was set at 118 degrees.
Seriously? Make up your mind.
In the Civil War era, Warsaw saw lots of action. First, a crowd raised a rebel flag on the courthouse lawn in 1861. That led then to Warsaw being burned to the ground by Union troops. 2 years later, Colonel Shelby's troops burned Warsaw again on their way to coal camp. Today, visitors to Warsaw can visit nearby Harry Truman State Park, or they can play at the Lake of the Ozarks. But keep your eyes open. Maybe you can spot a mastodon.
We manufacture gun stocks. We take it all the way from a tree. We have log mills where we saw up the wood and dry it. After it's dried, we go through the process of cutting into blanks. We'll have a gun sent to us by a customer, and it'll have a cracked stock or damage to it. We remove the old stock and use our equipment to copy it, and then install it onto their gun and go through the finishing process. Craftsmanship is meticulously done. We're keyed more on the quality of the work rather than the quantity of number of pieces that we can produce. We are a family-owned business and we're a family-ran business. We're also, at least probably half of the people that work here are family.
You know how they say the apple doesn't fall far from the tree? Well, when it comes to making gun stocks, the chips don't fly far from the workbench.
My father ran a carving machine for a company called E.C. Bishop's, and his father was a machinist for the same company. Eventually, I got interested in it when I was very young, and I went to work for them when I was very young and started out running a carving machine, and eventually I went to installation. When the company shut down, we had to have a place to go, so we started our own business. Me and my father and my brother started it originally in the late 1990s, and my brother's passed away, and my father's retired, so I'm the last remaining making.
Or is he? Like father, like son, like grandson, the Macon family legacy continues.
It's very difficult to find someone with the skills, and it's very difficult to teach within any reasonable amount of time how to do what we do. It takes years and years to learn, and we start them out very young. My son started when he was a teenager. I started when I was a teenager. And we try to bring in people that have some experience. If they don't, we train them, but that's a very time-consuming part of the process. So how valuable is a stock maker? Very, very, they're more difficult to find than a good doctor. We work very hard to ensure that we're bringing the money into the local economy and not pushing it out. We feel like it's a service to all of our friends and neighbors and our relatives that live in this community. And it's something that's going to help to support my children and my grandchildren and generations to come. And what we do here is an art. It's a craft. It takes years to learn how to do it, and it is what we are. We don't want to compromise our integrity or our ethics for a profit. We have our reputation to take into consideration, and there are going to be generations of stock makers after me that are going to need to have our integrity intact. So we're keyed on doing a quality job and satisfying all customers, even if we have to go way out of our way to do it. You just can't buy integrity.
Hi, my name is Eric Bodeker, and I'm here again with another wonderful place to eat. That place this week is the Common Ground Cafe. Manager Derek Gould tells us all about his cozy cafe.
We wanted to have a place where we could show hospitality to the people in the area and even from Kansas City to Springfield. We also wanted to just be able to meet our local neighbors and get to know the people in the area.
I know you're here for the food, so let's dive into that menu.
Here at the restaurant, we serve sandwiches, salads, all made with homemade ingredients and fresh baked bread. We also serve our specialty tea, which is mate from South America. We import that from our friends down there. There's just a little bit of something for everybody on the menu.
The prettiest rose in Warsaw just happens to be the Deli Rose at Common Ground.
The Deli Rose is our signature sandwich. It's made on an onion roll with corned beef and roast beef and our own spicy ketchup sauce, mayo and mustard, and hot pepper and provolone cheese. It's quite a unique sandwich. Very, very good. People around here love it. We also have a homemade beef chili that we make daily, and we feature a different soup each day.
The first thing you'll notice upon entering the Common Ground Cafe is the interesting decor. We got the scoop from Derek on its inspiration.
We started our community back in the 1970s, those of us that run the restaurant, and we started these delis and restaurants and cafes just with this sort of decor, a decor that's very relaxing, a relaxing atmosphere, and that's how we've built our cafes from the beginning. So that's where we get our inspiration from, just using the beautiful woods, and we just want to, like I said, we just want to create that cozy atmosphere that makes people feel welcome.
We sat down with some guests to hear what they love most about the Common Ground Cafe.
It's a great place to come. The ambiance is great. The decor is awesome. One of the prettiest places you can ever be in. It's the workmanship that they've done here to create this. Knowing what this building looked like before this was gutted and redone, it's just a beautiful place. I'd normally either get the Deli Rose or the Prince. Both of them are good. The Deli Rose is a little bit messy, but they both taste really, really good.
We like to promote our local businesses, which Common Ground is a member, and it gives us such an honor that we have people here that can craft something like this and that do such a wonderful job, and people come from all over the place. They call the chamber and tell us that just to come and eat here, and if for no other reason for the food, but just for the aesthetics of it.
For more information, you can visit cafeontheosage.com.
We're here with Dusty Mills, who's the president of KBPHA. And in case you don't know what that means, Dusty, what does that mean?
That's Casinger Bluff Pioneer Heritage Association.
So you can see she's clearly dressed much more properly than I am. Tell us a little bit about what we're going to see today.
Okay, what we're going to see today is we have 12 acres on Casinger Bluff in Warsaw, Missouri, and we have reproduction buildings as well as authentic buildings that we have reconstructed here. And we have folks that come in and demonstrate their pioneer way of life as well as their trades and their crafts. Always the third weekend in October, we have our Pioneer Heritage Days, which is a two-part event for our town. The 12 acres up here on the bluff is representative of the 1800s, and we have probably pretty close to 100 different exhibitions that you can see with the cabin area full of life, the smokehouse working. Folks are going to be blacksmithing and working on all sorts of trades and crafts during their shows.
Well, I'll tell you what, right now, Dusty and I are going to go over and we're going to go take a look at some of the work that's being done right now. Come on. Tell me a little bit about how you become a broom squire, Vince.
Well, I actually retired and had to have something to do. And I went to school and learned how to make brooms. And after you make a certain number of brooms in the thousands, then you become a broom squire.
Okay, there's a broom school.
Yes, there is.
You have student loans from the broom school?
No, I don't.
Okay, good. All right, that's good. It made me a little nervous.
I paid as I went.
I'm thinking maybe that's a trade that's going to be difficult to make a living with.
Yeah.
So to explain a little bit about when folks come for a tour here, what is it that you do and what are you showing them?
Well, I try to explain to them where the broom corn comes from. It grows on a plant in the field just like a corn stalk is, except for it doesn't have ears. The broom corn grows out the top where the tassels come out. It has to be harvested, it's matted in seeds, they have to clean it, they have to dry it just like tobacco is or it'll mold. They have to hang it or lay it out on screens, and then we get it to make the brooms. I get the handle or whatever, I have a hole in it, I feed the wire through, and then I just keep layering it on as I go, and each layer I'll just wrap it a couple, 2 or 3 times each, and this is my last layer on this one. And then they call it being off, where I'll go up another time and then I'll tie the wire, cut it and tie it.
I don't suspect I'm going to become a broom squire anytime soon, but I have been on the business end of those, so thank you, Vince.
Okay, thank you.
Tell us what you're making here, Nyla.
This is old traditional bobbin lace, and it dates back into the 1500s. There were 2 types of lace that they made. Traditionally, you either made a needle lace, which was called point lace, or you use bobbins to weave the lace. I'm using English bobbins, and they're called Midland bobbins. They're from the Midlands of England, and England was the only country to put beads on their bobbins. And they call them spangles, and they have dangles on their spangles. But the whole object of the beads are to keep them from rolling on the pillow.
Okay.
But you're working on a pattern that has pinholes in the paper. All of these pinholes are all pricked in this paper before I start. So as I'm working, I'm weaving the lace and placing the pins in the pattern. And then as I turn my bolster, this bolster rolls as I'm working, and I just pull the pins out of the back part and just continue working. And you're always working with 2 pair. The half stitch is across to the right, 2 left twist. The whole stitch is across to the right, 2 left twist, and across to the right. There's 3 moves. And the double stitch is a cross and a twist, and a cross and a twist. So it's a double the half stitch. So it's just a combination of those stitches to make all the designs in the lace.
We're here with somebody that's kind of a rock star. If you've ever visited here before, so you've probably seen Steve Hansen. Steve, tell us a little bit about your history here with the area and what you've done over the years.
Well, Nyla and I got involved with Heritage Days in 1986. So what I'm doing right here, I hack away the waste pieces, which is called juggles. And then I take my great-granddad's broad axe. This is a E.C. Simmons axe. It's a 12-inch blade, 10.5-pound blade. It's razor sharp. It's not really, once you get used to it, it's not the work it looks like. But I'll give you just a little demonstration right here. You stand on the side of the log. It's got a kind of an offset handle, and that's to kind of protect your knuckles. I use a little extra long handle than the old-timer do. But basically, I've got a line scratched right in here, and I just go to that line. And that's called log hewing.
And how long would it take normally from just the original log to where you're ready to put it in?
If I had this log laid in here, the time I scored it on both sides, I could do it in just about an hour, maybe less than an hour. Not so much anymore. I'm almost 69 now. But then when I was hewing the logs, I could cut out a log, pretty much 1 an hour.
Well, I'll tell you, Steve, if we had a race, you'd still beat me, so don't worry about that. We're here with Mark and Samuel, who are going to talk to us a little bit about blacksmithing. Now, tell me a little bit about, Mark, how did you get involved in learning how to blacksmith?
Well, my great-grandfather was a blacksmith, and he was still around when I was real little. And my dad used to crank for his blower. When I got a little older, my dad was showing me some blacksmith techniques, and then later on I became a sculptor, and I like the solving problems of blacksmithing.
Now, Samuel, obviously, you're a little bit younger than Mark is. What got you interested in this? Why in the world are you interested in blacksmithing?
We came over my family and I came over for Living Histories to help with the cabin, and I heard them blacksmithing, and I came over here to see if I could help, and it just kind of started out here.
And it's pretty cool, right? There's fire and smoke and stuff, so that's a cool thing, right? Yeah. So have you made anything so far? Have you created something?
I have made a couple of things, mostly with some help. The first thing I made on my own looked really awful.
It gets better, Samuel. Yeah. It gets better. What do you think is the most important thing for people to know before they come and visit?
I think that, when you come to visit, you're going to see spectacular views, not just with the 12 acres that we operate, but with the view itself over the bluff. But what you get here that you won't get anywhere else is the history. And we are doing our best to maintain the history of this region. And that's something which is special to me, but I think you don't get that in a lot of different places.
If you needed a particular set of skills, these might serve you well if you're on the covered wagon. For nearly a quarter of a century, the small town of Cole Camp, Missouri will swell with population and Germanic pride one Saturday each summer as the town plays host to something called Zinger Fest. And according to organizers, for every one of those nearly 25 years, the sun has always shone on Zinger Fest.
We started the Zinger Fest 24 years ago. This is our 24th one. Started it in 1990. And that's when we formed a German singing group for the first time. That was just a men's group. A couple of years later, we formed a ladies group. We found out that there was a national organization of German singers. We became part of that.
But of course, as soon as we brought cameras to Zinger Fest, the storm clouds built as the Festbaum went up. Not too scary raising that giant pole in the beginnings of a typical Missouri summer thunderstorm. But even as Cole Camp's J.C.'s Park was emptied and the J.C.'s Hall next door filled up, no matter what, the Zangers will go on.
We start off by raising our Festbaum, which is kind of an exciting event that you don't see very often in downtown Cole Camp or anywhere else in America. But it's something we picked up in Germany.
Neil says the first Zinger Fest grew out of a simple discovery.
He says, hey, there's another German singing group in the world. So we made contact with them, and they said, we need to have a Zinger Fest, and we didn't know what it was. So they told us, and they graciously came down here and helped us put on a Zinger Fest, and that was the start of it. The first Zinger Fest we had, the St. Louis Menor Corps came down and were our guests. And as you can see by the banners, we now have singers from Kansas City, 3 different groups from St. Louis, 1 from Tulsa. And there's a group in Omaha. They've been here once. But anyway, it's really been a great experience.
As they organized that first Zinger Fest, the groups decided they didn't want Zinger Fest to be your typical Pahs and Lederhosen.
So we said, let's show the public that there is more to German culture than drinking beer in a beer garden. So at our first Zinger Fest, we served coffee and coffee cake. That changed the next year. Not a good idea.
What's the point, right?
So fear not. If you attend future Zinger Fests, you can bring your Stein and a hunger for sauerkraut and bratwurst. And Neil says you don't need to worry about being fluent in Deutsch.
One thing we hear a lot from the public is, well, I don't understand German. And I'm going to say, well, we don't either. Most of us don't. But we sing some really great music. Some of the classics we sing, you'll hear everything here today from German beer drinking songs to classical music. And it's just whether you understand the words or not, if you like music, you'll hear some of the best ever written right here.
Relentlessly local since 1879 is kind of our moniker, and my great-great-grandfather started the enterprise, and that was his focus, and we've carried that through 5 generations, and that's, we keep our eye on the local community. My great-great-grandfather, Thomas Benton White, came here from Denver, Colorado in 1879, and he was a reporter for the Denver Post, and he came here with $500 in his pocket, and there was a steamboat down on the harbor that had foundered, and he bought it and used the lumber from it to build the first newspaper office right here, and had a Washington hand press that we still have up in our lobby, the front part of it, and started the Benton County Enterprise, and we've been at it ever since. And then his son took over, my great-grandfather, and then my grandfather, Malin Neal White, started the Clinton Daily Democrat in Clinton, Missouri, that we still operate. It's also served as a home until 1930, as well as the newspaper office, and it was on this same spot. And in 1968, that building was torn down, and then the existing building on the same footprint was constructed.
Following in his family's footsteps was easy after growing up in the business.
I was living in Kansas City at the time, and my father was diagnosed with stage 4 esophageal cancer, and he approached me about coming back to run the newspaper and the businesses, and I gave it some thought and arrived here on November 27th of that year, and then he died on December 8th. So I didn't have a very long learning curve. I just kind of jumped in and took over.
At the entrance to Benton County Enterprise, you'll find his great-grandfather's composing stone, a daily reminder of just how far the publishing industry has evolved.
Behind me is a linotype from the early 1900s that were used in newspapers through the 1930s. And then when I was a kid, it started going more digital to CompuGraphics, and then we used Macintosh. And of course now everything's done electronically and sent to the press room electronically, where before we made plates, and it was much more labor intensive then than it is now.
From the Enterprise Building in downtown Warsaw, Missouri, this is Midday with Michelle McLaren on BCE TV.
We have a small streaming TV station we use, obviously our website. So it's out on different platforms. What we cover hasn't changed over the years. The medium through which we distribute is definitely changed. I think people, they still care a great deal about the Benton County Enterprise being their hometown weekly newspaper, because we cover, high school sports, their births, deaths, anniversaries, anything that's going on locally, we cover. What we provide is a niche publication, in a small rural community, and people care about their local news, and quite frankly, there's no other way to get that except through us, luckily, and we're happy to do it and proud to do it.
Funding for KMOS Presents Missouri Life is provided by contributions to your PBS station from viewers like you. Thank you.